Hey everyone, I am going to show you how you can do a very quick Kiwi Lane card. I'm also going to show you what it's like with the differences on layering and putting different templates together and different tiny accessories together so that you can actually create something with a lot of different layers and dimensions. Also, a nice way to incorporate stamps and whatnot in your projects. So here we go. This is the finished project, and this card is really cute and very simple because it starts, believe it or not, with an 8.5 by 11 base. And 8.5 by 11, if you cut it directly in half on the long side, which is 5.5 inches, and then fold it, it gives you a 5.5 by 4.25 inch card base, which is exactly what you want to work with most all of the Kiwi Lane card templates, because they are designed for this specific size. All of our quick sets and everything else are also designed with that size in mind as well. It's a standard small card size. So if you start with that base, then you can start and pick and choose your pattern papers. I basically picked up this $5 pad from Walmart, and I picked a couple of coordinating patterns like so. I got this one, and this one. And what I'm going to do is I've decided I'm going to take my template down there. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to add a strip as well. And what a lot of people don't realize with strips, this is the very top of a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. When you get them out of some of these types of things, they have a little line here, and so you have this whole thing right here. This is perfect for a strip for a card, and you don't waste it. So it's a great way to utilize that extra strip of paper that you really, normally would throw away. I am a layerer. I like to mat, I like to double mat and everything else. So you'll see what I've done with this one is, rather than putting the background pattern paper directly down onto my card base, I went ahead and added another color to the mix. Another reason why I did this is because without this yellow, a lot of the other colors can kind of get a little bit lost on this base. So I've already cut my pieces, I've already traced and cut, but I'm just going to show you when you put this down here like this, it's pretty and it still looks very cute, but the difference when you do that is, to me, that kind of gets a little bit lost. Whereas if you put that wonderful contrasting paper behind with just that little tiny bit of edge, it really sets it up and off of that card. So what I went ahead and did, this again, this is 5.5 by 4.25. So I cut this down to it's about 1/4 inch smaller all the way around. So it is 5.25 by 4. And then all of my Kiwi templates I did based on 1/8 of an inch smaller than that, so that you would have just that tiny sliver of the yellow left over. When you're doing and using the Kiwi Lane, one of the things that I like to tell everybody when they're marking out their templates is, when you take a template, a lot of people want to go ahead and put that straight edge against the straight edge and they're going to go straight across. In this case, if I would have done that, you'll see I don't quite capture my cupcakes down here the way that I wanted to. So what I went ahead and did is I slightly pivoted and tilted this template to give me a really nice follow to really accent those cupcakes on that edge. And so that's what I did. You don't have to put these templates directly straight across. You can skew them. There's a lot of quote unquote wiggle room in how you use these templates. So just a little trick there. Another little trick that I like to tell people is when you're stamping, know what templates you're going to be using. In this situation here, I used the small rings and I used the tiny floral #1, and I went ahead and I layered them. Well, originally when I did my stamp, I originally cut it in a square. Well, I really didn't like how that was sitting, and I couldn't go back in and cut it in a round, so I had to do it over again. And then when I stamped it, you could very easily go ahead and once you stamp it, then go around it with your template. But I also find that it's just as easy when you're stamping to go ahead and take your template that you're going to use and trace it first. And stamp it that way. It's kind of 6 in one, half dozen of the other, but it's all a matter of how you like stamping. I wanted to get it kind of centered and everything else, so I went ahead and did it this way. And then I cut around my stamp. You could easily do it the other way because this is translucent and you can see exactly where you're going, and you could move it left or right however you wanted to. I find this way easier, but that's a personal choice. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll do all of that, and then you'll get everything cut out. Here's that background, there's that strip that I told you about from the top of the paper, and here's my little template cut. And then here's this piece here. Now for this card, I went ahead and used pickled raspberry ink. I wanted to kind of carry the pink. But another reason why I used the pink ink is because I wanted to go into this white because I didn't want it to be as stark sitting on top of the card. If I would have just, you know, left that all alone, this really would have been very, very bright and very stark, and I don't really like that. So what I did was a lot heavier on the edge. Rather than just hitting the edge like we normally do just to get that contrast, I went ahead and put my dauber down almost flat and hit it really, really hard so that pink faded in. And what that does is it really gives you the illusion that I'm on a very light pink piece of paper, and I'm not. I'm actually on white. But the illusion that it creates, because you're also putting it on a very dark pink behind it, works very, very well. Okay, once you get everything cut out from the Kiwi Lane, you want to go ahead and you want to ink all those edges. Now keep in mind with these pieces like this, with this tiny floral, all of this down here on this inside is all going to get hidden. So you don't need to worry about going all the way in and filling in all those little cracks, because you're going to really hide that with your stamp or your sentiment or whatever it is that you're going to put in the center of this. If you want to add another type of flower, you could do that. Or if you wanted to add another type of either the floral or maybe even one of our flower pieces from another tiny set, you could absolutely do that too. But again, you don't have to go very deep down into those wedges when you're inking on this one. Another thing too, when I'm doing cards, not so much when I'm scrapbooking, but when I'm doing cards, if I have my pattern paper sitting inside of a solid color, I will go ahead and I will ink those edges. Again, this is something that is just going to give me a little bit of depth. It's going to give me a little bit of dimension, and it's just going to add that little bit of pop. So I will go ahead and do that to all my edges. Normally on the straight edges, like I said, with scrapbooking, I won't bother. So I'll make sure I'll get these side edges there. So you're going to see that. And then these side edges here. Another thing too, and another reason why I do like inking like that, is because it does hide all that white if you're using a white core paper. Okay, so everything is cut, everything is inked, so now it's just a matter of assembling. And I like to start from the bottom when I'm doing my cards because I'm just that way. I like being able to layer one at a time. But you can do it whichever way you like. There's no right or wrong way to this. I will tell you that with cards, all trimmers, aside from my Caterpillar, I have found that not all trimmers are created equal, and a lot of times you'll have like really wonky lines because no matter what, I don't think there's a paper company in the world that actually gives you a perfectly square piece of paper. Don't know why that is, but that's just how it seems. So if that's the case and you have like a wonky angle here to where some of the bottom's showing through the top of the card, just go ahead and take your trimmer, put the whole card in there, and then you can trim up the sides, and that'll clean up that card really nicely so that you have all four straight edges and nothing sticking or jutting out anywhere. Alrighty. And I am eyeballing a lot of this. I'm not that, you know, how it appears. If there's a little bit more on one side or a little bit more on the other side for cards, I don't really mind all that much. Because, you know, honestly, no one is really going to scrutinize your cards to say, you didn't do that right. Scrapbooks, different story. Cards, they like the fact that you tried and did something for them. Okay. So there that is. If you wanted to pop this up with pop dots, you absolutely could. Normally I actually would, but the only reason why I'm not in this instance is because this is color book paper, and quite honestly, color book paper is very, very flimsy. It's the very, very cheap, thin pattern paper, and so it doesn't hold well with pop dots. So there's my sentiment there. And there it is, and it's all on, it's all done. You can see too when I did my stamp, this one I did with Copics, this one I did with pencils. So that's entirely up to you, preference. I just wanted to kind of show you the difference on the two different types of medias that you can use. But that's the card, that's as simple as it is. And then if you want to go a step farther and put something on the inside here with your sentiment and happy birthday, and then or even, you know, repeat some of your pattern paper onto the inside, you can absolutely do that and decorate up your card very, very well. But for all intents and purposes, that's a birthday card. It's done, and it's only been about 10 minutes. So I hope you like it. Go ahead and try doing your cards, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks.